Hello, my lovely rose garden. Recently, I asked for you to submit to me your whip pitches or blurbs, basically how you would describe whatever project you are currently writing that is not finished yet. And of course, just as I begin recording, here is Winnie with her scratching post. Thank you, Winnie, for your contribution to this video. I pulled in submissions from all across my different platforms, so I'm going to start with Discord. And our first entry is Air with Dirty Paws. Jace Devi has always loathed the beastly side of himself and has done his best to keep it buried his whole life. So when he finally strikes out on his own, he sees it as a fresh start, a chance to feel like any other young adult his age. All that changes when he meets Vince and his merry little pack of nomads who have recently drifted into town. He's not used to having other shapeshifters like himself around, and he's jealous of their seemingly easygoing lifestyle. But their carefree attitude makes him feel like maybe it's okay to be his full self after all, fangs and all. A tension is slowly brewing beneath the surface, however, and it threatens to ruin this new fragile happiness for everyone. Secrets will be revealed, relationships will be tested, and everyone will have to decide where their priorities truly lie. This is a fantastic piece of shifter fiction that will be a graphic novel, or otherwise webcomic, basically visual media is what we're looking at here, and talking about, of course, shapeshifters, so werewolves, and I am absolutely here for it. The mental health at the heart of the internal struggle, absolutely to die for. Please give me more werewolf fiction, give me more shapeshifter fiction, give me more of that fiction with a mental health allegory attached. I am very eager to see this project come to fruition and have been blessed with seeing some of the concept art already. So fantastic, and thank you for submitting it. Next, we are on to a couple of different submissions that came in through Discord that the author has requested to stay anonymous, so I will not be revealing the author's name. And I did also include fanfics within this whip submission call, so this one is a fanfic for Genshin Impact called Stars, Flowers, and Snowflakes. Kaya Alberich and Celine Katzlin have been best friends and confidants growing up. But after each suffered the loss of a loving parent in their teens, grief and difficult circumstances drove the once inseparable pair apart. 2 years later, though, an escort mission turned botched ambush by a gang of treasure hoarders results in Kaya saving Celine's life and discovering that she's a reluctant member of the infamous criminal organization. To Celine's shock, instead of turning her in, Kaya offers her protection, shelter, and even the opportunity to get back at the treasure hoarders by becoming his informant. Even more surprising, it turns out that Kaya missed her just as much as she missed him. As the months pass, information networks grow, friendship and trust are rebuilt, secrets are revealed, and tender feelings are stirred as Kaya and Celine become partners in every sense of the term. So I know absolutely nothing about Genshin Impact, and I can't say that I've seen Kaya Alberich, I guess, around as a name, but I couldn't really put a character design to it. So I'm looking at this as basically an original fiction pitch because, again, I know nothing about Genshin Impact, and I definitely think that it seems like a really neat sort of childhood friends to sort of enemies to allies to lovers kind of story. And I think that there is clearly a lot of thought out chemistry between these characters and how they interact with each other and the world around them. I'm interested to see what the circumstances are that drove them apart beyond the loss of their parents and exactly how that loss of their parents impacted each character. There's a lot that we could get into here, and it does seem that this person very much does love Genshin Impact and some of the world building aspects with the treasure hoarders and, having someone kind of work as a spy. Like, it seems interesting. So even though I know nothing about Genshin Impact, if I saw this story on bookstore shelves, I would definitely give it a look. And we have another submission under Anonymous. The working title is The War That Almost Was. Silvestri is on the brink of civil war. The two great kingdoms of the North and South have been gathering power for the past decade, absorbing more and more provinces into their domains. Now they seem like two giants of equal size and power, being weighed against each other on a scale too fragile to support them, balancing each other out and threatening collapse for all. So, we're not even into the bulk of this pitch yet, but I just want to say that the phrasing here and the imagery this is conjuring is absolutely gorgeous. Clearly you have a way with words. Now, let's continue with the pitch. Princess Liana wants nothing more than to avert conflict between such powerhouses, but she can't stay neutral forever. Her province is coveted as a potential ally, being both wealthy and strategically located. And to make matters worse, both King Dailuk and the Northern Realm of the Northern Realm, and the High Prince Kaya of the Southern Alliance are young, unmarried, and very desirable. Oh, okay, so this is fan fiction. All right. Oh, wait, hang on. Nope. Sorry, I'm reading this note all wrong, because I saw Kaya and Dailuk, and I'm like, oh, those are Genshin Impact characters. It does state here that all the names used in the following whip description are placeholders and not the actual names. So this is not a fan fiction. This is an original fic, but the person who submitted this, for the sake of being anonymous, has changed the names to the Genshin Impact characters. Okay, so this is not another Genshin Impact fic. Thank you. I'm sorry, I totally butchered that. Let me go back and reread that paragraph. I am so sorry. Princess Liana wants nothing more than to avert conflict between such powerhouses, but she can't stay neutral forever. Her province is coveted as a potential ally, being both wealthy and strategically located. And to make matters worse, both King Dailuk of the Northern Realm and High Prince Kaya of the Southern Alliance are young, unmarried, and very desirable. Both are keen to forge an alliance with her province. She knows this. But as she spends more and more time with each of them, it becomes clear that each monarch desires a union with Liana herself as well. It also becomes clear that sharing her and her alliance is not an option. Liana is thus torn politically and romantically. She knows the most practical way to protect her province is to ally with one of these great kingdoms, and a marriage to either Dailuk or Kaya would be very easy as a way to secure that. Not to mention that a life with either man as her consort would certainly be a happy one. But which should she choose? How should she even make such a choice with the fate of her home and potentially the entire country resting upon it? Is there any other way to avert disaster? So this one, I definitely do still like it. I'm sorry about the confusion. Possibly not for me, simply because the love triangle aspect of it that's going on here, but I have seen other works do something similar to this and pull it off extremely well. Again, the love triangle is not a bad trope, it's just not one that appeals to me in particular, but if you are interested in this kind of thing, especially with the amount of emphasis being put on that political struggle and the world building and understanding the position that Princess Liana is in, where no matter who she chooses, there are going to be some consequences with the other side of things, where she cannot pick both. I do like that was acknowledged, where it states that sharing is not an option with these two, because at least it means that at least Princess Liana did consider the possibility of unifying with both, but that's not possible with them. So, at least it was considered. At least we had the option of polyamory, even if it didn't work out. So, very interesting. I'm not sure if it's one that if I saw it on bookstore shelves, I would automatically pick it up, but I definitely would be tempted by the writing of that first paragraph of the pitch. I thought that was extremely interesting and just very well written. And then we have one more submission under Anonymous, and it is an unnamed medieval fantasy mystery story inspired by Game of Thrones and Twisted Wonderlands. And that is set in the same universe as this previous whip, potentially. It may be a separate universe, or it might be set in the same universe as the one we just read. Zara has plenty of reason to resent her family. As an illegitimate daughter, the result of an affair between her noble father and a servant girl who callously left the moment she'd recovered from delivering her into the world, as her father puts it, she is barred from succeeding to her family's wealth and status. Never mind that she is the eldest child, or that she, as the most cunning and skilled of their lord grandfather's heirs, is the most deserving of the title of heiress. Because she's a bastard, the daughter of nothing, of no account whatsoever, it is not to be. Not that that stopped her aunt from trying to poison her as a young girl, prompting Zara to immunize herself from such attempts in case anyone else saw her as a threat, or even as too great a tarnish on the family, which could no longer be swept under the rug by having her blend in with the servants. Yes, Zara has reason to resent her family, but she's never acted on that resentment, not really. And she's especially never thought to murder her little cousin, the heir apparent to their wealth and grandeur, out of said resentment. But Zara is certain that many wouldn't put it past her, and her father isn't exactly leaping to her defense. While the family is in crisis, Zara must find out who murdered her cousin, what their goal is, and how she can protect herself and her loved ones. So this medieval fantasy mystery story, where you have this murder mystery of this younger cousin who is the heir apparent, and Zara's circumstances being used to frame her as the murderer, so she has to find out who really did it. Fantastic, amazing, 10 out of 10. Would most definitely read this one. Give it to me now. Serve it up to me on a silver platter. I will eat it in a single sitting. I love this and I want it. And please let me know once it has a title so that I can follow it. And thank you very much to everyone who submitted a whip or pitch to me on Discord. I believe that is all of them, and if I am wrong, I will definitely do a follow-up. And with that, we are going to move on to the ones that came in through my YouTube comments. I made a post in my community tab and had people submit some whip submissions over there. So now we are going to go through the ones from the community tab. And here we have one from Alex Mars called Between the Pages. Ivy Moore is ready for the next chapter in her life. She's almost done with senior year, and soon her debut novel will be complete. Her lifelong dream will finally be achieved, and her heart will be full. Well, kind of. After the accident that ended her sister's life and left her in a wheelchair, Ivy has felt a growing hole in her heart. Her sister was her best friend and greatest supporter, and now she feels alone. All she has are the characters she created. On a night with a storm ravaging outside, Ivy is magically pulled into her unfinished novel. Her sister is here. She falls in love with her dream prince, and she lives her perfect life. As time passes, however, she realizes that her life here is fading due to the fact that she never finished the book. She needs to find a way out, but she doesn't want to leave her family behind. Will she, with the help of a wizard with a bad attitude, be able to get out and save her family at the same time? And this is so interesting because I love these kinds of stories where characters get transported into these magical other worlds that give them everything they want, and they don't want to leave. I know it's very common that, at the end of the story, the hero goes home and it's seen as a good thing and, they're moving on. And I don't know if that's going to be the ending for this one, but I do like that there is that sort of external push because the world is technically falling apart because the book's not finished yet. So Ivy needs to actually go finish this book. Otherwise, everyone is still in danger and she does risk losing them all over again, especially her sister, if she doesn't get out and finish the book. So she has to get out. But then that's the question of, will she be able to go back? Will she want to go back? Will she have gained the strength to face her life without her sister? Or will she actually decide that she wants to stay there? And that's really interesting. There's a lot of different ways that this could go. The one thing is that I am hoping that Ivy will stay in the wheelchair when she's in the other world because just the sort of existence of ableist tropes where disabled characters are healed through some sort of magical power or moving into their perfect world means that their disability is gone. There are some issues with that trope. So I'm hoping that Ivy is still in her wheelchair in the fantasy world and is happy with that, like has all the accommodations and accessibility needs that she could desire in the fantasy world. But I do not know this story, so I cannot say. Next up, TR submits Devils in the Depths. There's blood on the water in Port... Sorry, I butchered that. I am so sorry. Let me try again. There's blood on the water in Port Cyrene, a small fishing hamlet on the Louisiana bayou, thrust into a nightmare as the missing and dead continue to grow. A huntsman is sent by one of the families, a last-ditch effort to bring the missing home and the killer to justice. Yet as the huntsman begins to seek his quarry, he quickly uncovers old wounds that run deep through the town. Could the terror plaguing the town be coming from within? Or could there be something more savage laying just beneath the placid waters surrounding the town? Come on down to Port Cyrene and find out for yourself in Devils in the Depths. So here it looks like we have just a good old-fashioned, possibly supernatural, possibly not mystery about people going missing and dying in this town. And it has a storied past with some dark secrets. And this is just the great kind of rainy night reading that I so enjoyed, getting curled up under a blanket and putting on like some kind of spooky ambiance and reading something like this. This really is just the way to spend an evening for me. So I very much hope that I do get to do that and hold it in my hands one day. Thank you very much for submitting. Next, J. Louisa, a longtime subscriber if I am not mistaken, has The Other Beast. Ooh, already I am intrigued as, Other Beast, which means there's got to be more than one, right? Living in the small town of Meyer Ridge, North Carolina, Lacey Reynolds struggles to find work and live a quiet life. That goal to reach it is interrupted by a string of murders and disappearances, leaving the town on edge. After a night of fun, she is attacked by what she thinks is a large dog, except it is so much worse than that. Lacey is unsure on how to deal with being a monster and keeping the secret from her friends and family. She's lost on how to protect them from herself, including her new crush, Michael Taylor, fearing what could happen if she can't control the beast inside. All Lacey wants is to lead a somewhat normal life. That's going to be difficult when she enters the world of werewolves and shifters. Again, werewolf fiction over vampire fiction, okay? Like werewolves, especially as a metaphor for physical or mental disabilities, are just my jam. And I don't know if this is going in the allegory the way Dirty Paws is, but most definitely I will be looking for this because I'm always looking for more werewolf fiction to read. And it seems like this is the kind of story where maybe the main character will start thinking about maybe wanting a little bit more than a normal life, or really appreciating the life that she had after this happens. There's, again, a lot of ways that this could go, so I am interested in picking this one up and looking into The Other Beast. Because what is The Other Beast? Like, okay, clearly one of the beasts is the werewolves, like werewolves and shifters, that's one aspect. But then what's this other beast? Are we talking about something physical, some kind of external conflict that Lacey will have to overcome? Could it be internal, some kind of issue that she's dealing with? I must know. I simply must. And we have initials SS here. It is a untitled rewrite of Le Portrait de Petite Corset. And it says, after cutting off his toxic family and moving to another state, already fucking iconic king shit. Sorry, let's get back to it. Victor doesn't have much going for him. All he has for company are his beloved silent films and his fledgling true crime channel on YouTube, and he has no inclination to change this. Until, that is, the ghost of a long-dead silver-screen starlet appears to him in the San Francisco Bay one night, drawing him into a spirit world as ghoulish as it is beautiful. There, Victor is tasked with helping her restless soul find peace, but the path to that is not always clear, and some of the monsters lying in wait are too painful to face alone. I love it. I want it. I wanted it yesterday. please get to work writing this so that I can have it, because while I'm certainly not really a fan of Le Portrait de Petite Corset, I can definitely see where the submitter here is taking aspects of that story, the parts that were really kind of interesting and really moving the plot, and also combining certain aesthetics, like having it be surrounded by this silent film stuff, which I think we all kind of agree that silent films, just due to their uncanny nature, are all a little bit creepy. Combining those two things into one story and having this Victor, so he's moved away from his toxic family, he's probably still dealing with the fallout of that, with the mental repercussions of that, and then working together with a silent film star who is long dead to put her soul to rest. Like, I don't know, it's giving aesthetic, it's giving gender, and I want it. So absolutely fantastic. This might be one of the favorite submissions that I've gotten this entire time. I think it's great. I think it's perfect, and I want it. And that was it for the YouTube comments. So lastly, we are going to go over to Tumblr, if I can bring up the right tab, because I did have one come through in my Tumblr asks, and this one comes from The Boar's Bride, and they gave a very simplified pitch because it isn't an ask and there is a character limit, but I can speak to the quality of this one because I have actually read the in-progress works and I love it a lot. So here we go. This is what they say. Boar's Bride said, the description of my main whip, which is called The Monster and the Butterfly, is a gothic Victorian romance horror story with ghosts, haunted gardens, and spooky Victorian-era aesthetics and settings. I jokingly describe it as Crimson Peak meets Beauty and the Beast. Crimson Peak meets Beauty and the Beast is basically the perfect description of The Monster and the Butterfly. The influences of both are definitely clear on the story in a way that is very much giving that Beauty and the Beast vibe that every goth wants. So it tells the tale. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna go off. I'm gonna give the pitch for this one. It turns out it follows Sophie, who is, or once was, the daughter of a wealthy merchant, but unfortunately they have fallen on hard times, and she had to shear off all her hair. And this is Victorian era. That's a big deal. But she loves gardening, and she's trying to sell flowers. And one day she gets an offer from a Lord Edgar Cushing to become his private gardener in exchange for a fairly large sum of money that will help her family stay housed and fed, and she herself will be, taken care of with all the amenities at the estate. So with some reluctance, she accepts this offer and finds that the Lord of the estate, Mr. Edgar, doesn't come out. He doesn't show himself ever. And it's basically just her by herself in this big, dilapidated mansion trying to revive this long-dead garden, and there's a ghost, and she's alone and by herself so often. And then gradually she does get to know a little bit more about the history of the place and gets to know a little bit more about Edgar, and they kind of start developing a friendship, but then she sees why he doesn't show himself to people. And it's very much a gothic Beauty and the Beast retelling that is simply amazing. And if you are not following it, and if you're not following The Boar's Bride on Tumblr, you absolutely should be. I cannot recommend it highly enough, and it's not even in its final edited stage yet. I'm just reading the draft, and it's so good. And I know I'm going on and on about this one, but this is the one that I've actually seen the most content for. I have seen some of the planning for Dirty Paws and some of the planning for the Portrait de Petite Corset rewrite, but I've actually gotten to read drafts of The Monster and the Butterfly, and it is fantastic, and you should absolutely go check it out. In fact, I'm going to link to it down in the description, so you have no excuse. Go read the draft. It's amazing. And with that happy note, we are done reacting to these whip submissions. Again, thank you to everyone who submitted, whether you submitted original work or fan work, whether you were anonymous or used a screen name or used your real name. They were all fantastic. I would love to read any and all of them, and I do hope that I get to someday. So if you ever need encouragement to keep working on your project, just come back to this video and know that you have at least one person waiting to read it in your corner. Thank you so much for being here, and keep writing till next time, Rose Garden.